They smile when you walk into a room, but start talking as soon as you walk out. You might not notice, but Machiavelli definitely would. For him, gossip wasn't something harmless. It was a weapon, a secret tool used by cowards to stab at those they envy, without ever having to face them directly. And if you don't act decisively, don't play smart, you'll end up as their entertainment, their target, their slow downfall. Make no mistake, gossip isn't just idle chatter. It's a silent war for power. Machiavelli believed a ruler could survive betrayal, exile, even defeat armies, but if they can't control the story people tell about them, they lose everything. Reputation beats skill every time, and gossip is like poison slipped into your wine, subtle but deadly. Here's the harsh truth. You don't fight gossipers by getting emotional. You beat them by controlling the game. And Machiavelli left us 5 ruthless rules to do exactly that. Rule 1. Never respond the way they want you to. Gossipers depend on emotional reactions. They want you to defend yourself, to clarify, to counter, because the moment you do, you've already lost. You've given their rumors life by acknowledging them. Machiavelli's advice: a man who explains himself is already under suspicion. So, when you hear gossip, do something shocking. Smile. Act like it's amusing even if it burns inside. Your silence, that's power. It says to everyone watching, you're calm, you're in control. You've heard the whispers but decided they're beneath your attention. This kind of cold indifference drives gossipers crazy. They want to fight. You give them ice. This leads right into rule 2. Quietly punish the weak link. Machiavelli warned that gossipers aren't lone wolves. They have carriers, people who pretend to help by passing along rumors, but real allies shut rumors down. When someone comes to you with gossip, understand this: they're not just informing you, they're testing you. They want to know if you'll crack, if you'll snap, if you'll turn on others. What would Machiavelli do? He'd trace the gossip not to the loudest mouth, but to the weakest loyalty, someone who can't be trusted. And that person, they quietly drop out of the circle. No confrontations, no drama, just distance and silence. Because gossip dies fastest when it hits uncertainty. When the gossiper isn't sure who ratted them out, when they start feeling watched. That fear, that paranoia, that's gold in Machiavelli's playbook. Rule 3 is how you stop gossip before it even starts. Make yourself unpredictable. Gossip sticks to patterns. When you're predictable, you're an easy target. They know how you'll react, know your weak spots, and can trap you easily with half-truths. Machiavelli wrote that a leader must seem like everything and nothing all at once. So if you're always serious, laugh out of nowhere. If you're usually friendly, suddenly get distant. If you're always visible, vanish for a few days. Break the pattern so nobody can pin you down. This unpredictability ruins the gossiper's narrative, because they can't define you. And when they can't, they lose confidence, because gossip thrives on understanding and predictability. The 4th rule: it's ruthless. Elevate someone else publicly. Gossipers gain power by tearing you down, by subtraction. So Machiavelli's strategy: don't defend yourself. Lift up someone more loyal. Praise them in meetings, in groups, online. Highlight their excellence, their loyalty. This does 2 things at once. It shifts the spotlight away from you and isolates the gossiper. They'll feel the cold sting of exclusion. Others will notice, without you ever naming names. Machiavelli wasn't about wild accusations. He played a slow, strategic game of moves and consequences, all quiet and deadly. Finally, the 5th rule is the checkmate. Use gossip to control the gossip. Machiavelli often kept enemies close, not because he trusted them, but because he controlled them. When you know someone gossips, don't confront them head. Instead, feed them small, controlled gossip. Give them just enough to make them feel powerful, but nothing real or dangerous. Watch who they tell, what they add, how fast it spreads. They become your unwitting spies, and if they ever turn real threat, you already have the evidence to destroy their reputation. They lose credibility, because the truth comes from their own lips. Because, at the end of the day, gossipers aren't strong. They're scared. Scared of being overlooked, scared of losing influence, and especially scared of someone like you who plays the long game. Machiavelli didn't kill his enemies with anger. He dismantled them with precision, and they're like snakes waiting for the cold to finish them off. They'll deny everything, even when caught red-handed. They'll tilt their heads, flash innocent smiles, claim they were just concerned, just sharing what they heard. Machiavelli would see right through it. Gossip isn't born from rage. It's born from envy. The gossiper envies your presence, your confidence, your calm, but lacks the guts to confront you, so they chip away at your image, bit by bit, word by word. This is why Machiavelli never argued with gossipers, because the moment you defend yourself, you're playing their game. Instead, he played a whole different game, one so quiet and controlled that they didn't even see it coming. Now, imagine you're in a real-life situation, a workplace, a family gathering, or a social group. You start noticing odd glances, whispers when you're not around, subtle changes in how people behave around you. Someone you once trusted might be at the center of it all. The first instinct is to confront them, to clear the air. But Machiavelli would ask, why give away your power by exposing your intentions? Instead, watch quietly. Notice who suddenly avoids eye contact, who shares less, who gets weird when others joke at your expense. Then comes rule 2 in action. Punish the weak link, but do it quietly. You don't create a scene. You push that person to the sidelines. If they're part of a project, reassign them. If in your circle, shift your presence somewhere else. The key, always act like this doesn't bother you. Be cheerful, confident, unaffected. When you react this way, gossipers get paranoid. They start doubting their influence because the rumor doesn't hurt you, it changes you. They don't understand why you're immune. That's their biggest fear, uncertainty. And uncertainty kills gossip. The twist: when they don't know how to hurt you, they'll try to get back in your good graces. They'll send texts, make small talk, pretend everything is fine. That's when rule 3 kicks in. Be unpredictable. Break their expectations. If you're usually serious, suddenly laugh. If you're friendly, act cold sometimes. If you're always around, disappear for a few days. Be inconsistent. This messes with the gossiper's script because they can't predict your moves. They thrive on patterns, but you become a mystery to them. Machiavelli said a ruler should seem like everything and nothing all at once. That's your new power. Because when gossipers can't define you, they lose confidence, and confidence is their weapon. Rule 4 is the most ruthless and effective. Lift someone else up in public. Gossipers build power by pulling you down. Flip the script by praising someone loyal loudly in meetings, online, groups, anywhere. Highlight their excellence. This pulls the spotlight off you and isolates the gossip. They feel excluded, and others take notice, all without you ever calling them out directly. Machiavelli didn't believe in loud accusations. His game was subtle but deadly, moves and consequences without drama. Praise shifts the power balance silently. Finally, rule 5 is the checkmate. Use gossip to control the gossip. Keep your enemies close not because you trust them, but because you control them. If you know someone gossips, don't confront them directly. Instead, feed them small, harmless bits of false information, nothing dangerous but enough to make them feel powerful. Watch where it spreads. Who gets the info? What changes? Suddenly, your gossipers become unwitting spies. And if they ever truly threaten you, you have proof their own words to destroy their credibility. At the core, gossipers aren't strong people. They're scared. Scared of being overlooked, powerless. Scared of someone like you who's strategic and plays the long game. Machiavelli didn't destroy enemies with anger but dismantled them with precision. Gossipers are like snakes, waiting for the cold. Their downfall often comes from their own venom. They will deny everything. Smile innocently, say they were just concerned or sharing what they heard. Machiavelli saw right through that. Gossip stems not from rage but from envy. Their resentment of your confidence and composure because they lack the courage to confront you openly. So they undermine your image bit by bit, word by word. That's why Machiavelli never argued with gossip. The moment you defend yourself, you start playing their game. He preferred a different game, one so quiet and controlled, they never saw it coming. Imagine you're in a social setting, whether it's a workplace, a gathering of friends, or even a family event. You start noticing subtle signs, strange glances, whispers behind your back, people acting differently around you. Someone you once trusted might be at the center of these rumors. Your first instinct might be to confront, to clear things up directly. But Machiavelli would say, why give away your power by exposing your intentions? Instead, observe quietly. Pay attention to who's acting awkward, who's sharing less, who's avoiding eye contact whenever someone makes a joke at your expense. The next step is to act strategically. Punish the weak link, those who carry the gossip without making a fuss. Don't confront them directly. Instead, make them irrelevant. Reassign their responsibilities if they're part of your project, or distance yourself if they're within your social circle. The most crucial aspect: always act unaffected, even cheerful. This kind of calm, confident indifference confuses gossipers more than any angry rebuttal ever could. It plants a seed of doubt in their minds. They start questioning their influence because you're not responding the way they expect. Their power depends on your emotional volatility. When you deny them that, you strip their weapons. Now, the challenge is to make yourself unpredictable, which is rule 3. Gossipers thrive on patterns. They watch for how you respond, how you punish, how you react. If they can predict you, they can control the story. Machiavelli believed that a leader should appear as all things and none at once, serious yet playful, present yet elusive. So, if you're typically very serious, suddenly smile and laugh. If you're usually warm and friendly, switch to coldness at times. If you're visible every day, disappear for a few days. This inconsistency breaks their narrative because they can't pin you down. When they cannot define your behavior, their confidence erodes. Their entire strategy relies on understanding you, but you keep them guessing. This unpredictability not only unsettles gossipers, but also shakes their confidence because they fear the unknown. They like certainty. They want to know how you'll respond, what you'll deny, what you'll accept. When that certainty is shattered, they become less effective, and their rumors die out faster. The fourth ruthless move is to publicly elevate someone else, someone loyal and trustworthy. Gossipers derive their power from subtraction, pulling you down, spreading rumors that diminish you. Machiavelli would counter this by shifting the focus, highlighting and praising someone who supports you. Do it loudly, in meetings, online, or social gatherings. This strategic praise does two things. It redirects attention away from the gossiper, and it isolates them. Others will notice your loyalty and strength, and the gossiper's influence diminishes. The key here isn't to make accusations or call out their betrayal directly, but to create a pattern of loyalty and strength that others can see. Finally, the most masterful move, your checkmate, is to use the gossiper's own words and actions against them. Keep your enemies close, not in trust, but for strategic control. When you suspect someone gossips, feed them controlled, harmless bits of information. Let them think they're in your inner circle, gathering secrets, but in reality, you're watching and recording their every move. Observe who they tell their stories to, what they insert into conversations, and how fast rumors spread. They become unwitting spies, and if they cross a line, you already have all the evidence to neutralize them. Their downfall becomes inevitable, not through direct attack, but because they've buried themselves in their own web. Remember, gossipers aren't powerful. Fear is their true weapon. They're afraid of being ignored, powerless, or exposed. The goal isn't just to silence them temporarily, it's to make them irrelevant. When others see that speaking about you is dangerous for them, gossip naturally diminishes. The whispers become background noise. Machiavelli believed that true authority isn't based on loud commands or public displays. It's built on reputation and invisible armor that precedes and follows every move. If you craft a powerful, unassailable reputation, one that whispers of strength, control, and mystery, gossipers can't touch you. Instead, they become part of your narrative, fueling your legend. To do this, avoid over-explaining or defending yourself. Instead, let your actions, your silence, and your strategic moves speak for you. When gossipers try to undermine you, stand apart, unbothered, and let their attempts fizzle out. Over time, your reputation will become so formidable that even whispers of controversy lose their power. This is Machiavelli's ultimate secret. Turn their own weapons against them. When rumors come your way, don't fight fire with fire. Instead, control the environment, influence perceptions from the shadows, and subtly guide the story people tell. Your silence should be louder than words, your presence more felt than seen. Because, in the end, gossip flourishes where there's uncertainty and fear. When you eliminate both, you're no longer just avoiding trouble, you become untouchable. The whispers turn into echoes of your legend, and silence becomes your greatest weapon. Let's dive deeper into how Machiavelli might apply these 5 rules in real-life situations. Picture this: you're in a workplace, family gathering, or social group. You start catching whispers, noticing strange looks, and sensing subtle shifts in the way people act around you. You find out someone you once trusted might be at the heart of the gossip. The first urge is natural to confront and clear the air. But Machiavelli would ask, why expose your intentions? Why let them know you've noticed? Instead, observe quietly. Start watching for who suddenly acts awkward, shares less, or makes unnecessary eye contact whenever someone jokes at your expense. This observation feeds into the second rule: punish the weak link quietly. Don't create drama or accusations. Just make that person irrelevant, reassign them, if it's a work project, or subtly shift away in social circles. Most importantly, act unaffected, maybe even cheerful. This calm confidence confuses gossipers far more than rage. It makes them question their influence. It plants paranoia because the rumor didn't hurt you, it changed you, but they don't understand how. This uncertainty is Machiavellian gold. Now comes the subtle twist. Once the gossamer senses your indifference, they'll try to win you back. Random messages, small talk, pretending nothing happened. That's when Rule 3 unpredictability becomes lethal. Sometimes you're warm, sometimes distant, sometimes totally silent. You shake the rhythm they expect, ruining their blueprint. Machiavelli believed people plan moves based on predictable behavior. Break their model of you, and they lose power. Then, the master stroked the fourth rule: public elevation. Gossipers need oxygen, attention. You shift the spotlight to someone loyal and faithful. Praise them in meetings, online, anywhere you have an audience. This does two things: pulls attention from the gossiper and isolates them. They feel excluded while others see your strength. You never call out the gossiper directly. Machiavelli's moves are patterns, subtle, controlled consequences without drama. Now the genius of the fifth rule: turn gossipers into sources. Once you know who's spreading rumors, you feed them just enough controlled, meaningless info to make them feel important. Then, watch who they tell, what they add, how fast it gets around. They become your spy network without realizing it. If they become a real threat, you have the evidence to crush their credibility. Because their downfall comes from their own words. Here's the key: never treat a gossiper as a villain but as a symptom of a larger problem. Gossip lives in environments that reward it where weakness is tolerated. Popularity trumps performance. You don't just remove gossipers, you reshape the environment, make loyalty visible, make betrayal costly, make strength admired. That's how gossip disappears for good. To Machiavelli, you're never a victim of rumor, you're the architect of reality. Reputation controls power more than actual power itself. Gossip whispers before you arrive. It softens the ground beneath you when you try to stand tall. That's the invisible ambush. But Machiavelli is no average strategist. He doesn't just react, he anticipates. Your reputation is armor. Once it cracks, enemies grow bolder. His method: inoculate before gossip starts by crafting a myth around yourself so sharp, so bold, that no rumor sticks. He dealt with diplomats and rulers who whispered behind his back, calling him cruel, heartless. What did he do? He leaned into it, became the shadow they feared so fully, unapologetically, that their whispers amplified his legend. This is counterintuitive. Most defend against perception, but Machiavelli understood. If you try to seem good, you invite judgment. If you seem powerful, you dominate perception. So, if gossip calls you cold, be colder. If they say you're calculating, show calculation. If they call you ruthless, make crossing you unwise. Your enemies try to shape you like clay. Your job: become stone, but don't overplay. Machiavelli wasn't about loud dominance, but controlled mystery. When people can't predict your next move, they can't talk about you effectively. And when they guess wrong repeatedly, they stop guessing. Machiavelli's approach to gossip doesn't stop at defense or subtle retaliation. He sees gossipers not as villains to be crushed outright, but as symptoms of a deeper problem. Gossip thrives where weakness is tolerated, where loyalty is undervalued, and where strength goes unnoticed. The real power lies in reshaping that environment. Make loyalty visible. Make betrayal costly. Make strength admired. That's how you make gossip stop, not just for a moment, but for good. To Machiavelli, you are never a victim of rumors. You are the architect of your reality. Reputation is your armor. Once it cracks, enemies attack with impunity. But a strong reputation shields you even before you speak. Gossipers whisper before you enter, softening the ground beneath your feet, injecting doubt to weaken your influence. Machiavelli called this the invisible ambush, but what sets him apart is that he doesn't just react, he anticipates. He inoculates against gossip by crafting a myth so bold and defined that rumors cannot take root. When others called him cruel or ruthless, he embraced it, becoming exactly what they feared. Their whispers only made his legend stronger. Most try to appear good to avoid judgment, But Machiavelli knew this invites it. Instead, if gossip calls you cold, be colder. If they call you calculating, own it. If ruthless, make crossing you unwise. Enemies try to mold you from clay, but your job is to be stone. Yet, he was never loud or brash. His power lay in controlled mystery. When people can't predict you, they can't talk about you effectively. And when they guess wrong enough times, they stop guessing. Here's an advanced tactic Machiavelli might use. Turn your gossiper into a public supporter. It sounds impossible, but it works. After isolating them socially and feeding false trails to neutralize their influence, you invite them into your sphere, not as equal, nor as friend, but as a visible advocate. Maybe you praise a small action, mention them casually, give them legitimacy on your terms. Now they have something to lose. Gossipers operate risk-free, but once close to power, they must self-censor to maintain that illusion. They may even defend you to keep that fragile seat at your table. Machiavelli wouldn't trust them, but he would absolutely use this if they slip again. Their downfall is public and inevitable, a powerful warning to others. Gossip is no longer just silenced, it becomes an example, a lesson. Power doesn't shout, it whispers back. It makes the whole room go silent. And Machiavelli's brilliance is that he lets gossipers destroy themselves. You just watch, keep positioning, and at the perfect moment, give rumors enough legs to walk them off a cliff. When a gossiper falls, it should feel like gravity, effortless, silent, inevitable, not revenge. That's true power. How? By turning their audience against them. Without listeners, a gossiper is just noise. Machiavelli knew every social group has invisible lines of power: the respected, the feared, the irrelevant, and the useful. Gossipers think they belong at the top, but you reclassify them slowly and subtly in others' minds. You plant doubt in their credibility not by direct accusation, but by asking the right questions. Isn't it strange how they always know everyone's business? Have you noticed how drama always includes them? You don't point fingers, you connect dots, letting people see what they ignored. Then, you let the gossiper spin their web. Your silence becomes louder than words. You smile, maintain eye contact, and say nothing but speak volumes with your presence. Others notice the shift. They see the tension, because gossipers reveal more about themselves than their targets. The more they talk, the more desperate they seem. The more rumors they spread, the more insecure they become. Machiavelli would amplify their voice only to have it echo back against them when they finally cross the line, slander the wrong target, or lose control. Their downfall becomes a communal event. Everyone sees them as the noise. They aren't strategic or witty, just foolish gossip. Meanwhile, you remained the one who never flinched, the one above the fray. Machiavelli would add a final move, one many fear: use the destruction of a gossiper as a public lesson, not by boasting or calling it out, but by letting others infer your reach. Your silence becomes legendary, your unpredictability mythic. People realize, if that person could fall for whispering, what happens if I do? This is how true authority is built, not through endless defense, but through a few strategic defeats. Gossip doesn't fade by itself. It dies when the question arises, what if they hear about this? What will happen then? Machiavelli lived in that psychological space where your presence changes behavior, where your name carries weight, even when you're silent. When that happens, you've done more than stop gossip, you've built Untouchability. By then, the gossiper is quiet, but don't mistake silence for surrender. Defeated enemies return if not given a new role. Gossip is a survival strategy for the powerless. They erode others, because they cannot rise on merit. So Machiavelli's final measure is containment. You give gossipers a cage, a golden one, a small, visible, but powerless role that strokes their ego but limits damage. Let them feel chosen but watched. They'll be distracted managing appearances, less able to cause harm. Others see your mercy as control. He did this constantly in court politics, turning enemies into displays of his dominance. Everyone saw who they used to be, what they became, and the message was clear: crossing you has consequences. Now, let's pull back. These 5 measures: controlled silence, strategic exile, tactical unpredictability, public praise of loyalty, and reputational repurposing are not just tactics, they're a system for protecting your image, controlling narratives, and establishing psychological superiority in any social ecosystem, whether corporate, social, public, or digital. These tools don't just silence gossipers, they build your legend, because no greater tragedy exists than holding power while perceived as weak. Don't let whispers spin your story. Make your presence so sharp, so studied, so untouchable that even your absence has weight. Let them scheme, spin webs, and whisper. Then, without drama or loud confrontation, pull the floor from beneath them one cold step at a time. There comes a point where words become footnotes in your story, and silence turns into thunder. That, above all, is Machiavelli's way. Cold, precise, unforgettable, in a world full of whispers, become the reason they go quiet.